Good Thursday morning. It's tea time. A bit of shadow here. There we go, it's a little better. Anyway, this morning I want to read the opening, or at least a little bit of the opening, of a book that I read several years ago. Actually, I think it was at around the beginning of the pandemic. Anyway, the book is called Persistent Resistance, Calls for Justice from the Celtic Traditions, a collection of essays. And the first essay, the book opens, is titled, What is Justice? It's written by Marjorie Bennet, and I'm just going to read just the first few paragraphs of that reading. And it starts with a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Justice that love gives is a surrender. Justice that law gives is a punishment. Some 24 centuries ago, when the Celts were still wandering across southern Europe, a Celtic woman named Onomaris brought justice to her people. The band of nomads to which she belonged had been starving, on the brink of death, when the women of the tribe decided that something had to be done. They gathered together and demanded that someone lead them to a land where they could safely provide for their families. The women promised to swear allegiance to whomever would take on this responsibility. But when the warriors heard the women's request, they exchanged uneasy glances. They muttered among themselves and shifted their weight from foot to foot while they nervously fingered their weapons. Eventually, it became clear that no man was willing to accept the women's challenge. Instead, Onomaris, her red hair blowing behind her like a flag, stepped forward. "I will lead you," she said. The first thing Onomaris did was to recognize her people. "From now on," she told them, "no one among us will be wealthy. No one will have more privileges than anyone else. Everything we have will be shared, so that no one goes hungry and no one lacks clothing against the cold." The people knew Onomaris's courage and intelligence. They trusted her, and so everyone brought forward whatever goods they possessed and placed them on the ground before her. When everything was there, Onomaris sorted through the piles of belongings, and then she redistributed them. She gave each family only the supplies of food, animals, and weapons they needed for the journey that lay ahead. Then, having freed her people from quarreling, greed, and inequity, she led her tribe north across the Danube River in search of a new home. Eventually, Onomaris brought her people to a peaceful and prosperous land where she ruled with justice and wisdom. This story, based on an ancient Greek work, Tractatus de Miliribus, is one of the earliest depictions of a Celtic woman found in the historical records. I love Onomaris because she embodies the woman I want to be. Creative, courageous, strong, and compassionate. If I were to encounter a similar situation, however, I'm not sure I would demonstrate the wisdom and justice she did. As someone who grew up in the Me Too era, I suspect I would have been intimidated by the possibility of blowback from all those male warriors. My worries about offending my friends and family would have hampered my ability to lead my community on such a radically new path. I'm grateful, though, to Onomaris for challenging me to live up to her example. I think of her as a spiritual companion, a sort of personal saint, if you like, pointing me over and over towards strength and courage in the fight for justice. Have a blessed day.